What's up, guys? Welcome to the JP and Trav show. It is your host with the most, JP. And to my right, I have my brother, Travis J. Davison. Travis, how you feeling, man?
I'm doing great, man. Refreshed after a long weekend in Chicago. So yeah, man, life is good.
The Shy.
I know when you tweeted you're in the shy, I was like, oh man, Indy finna pull through. I thought you were like, man, it's a slight 3 hour drive. You good to go?
Man, if it was a weekend, say less. To
I'm
be honest,
thinking the guys trip this summer. I've already talked to a couple folks. I think it's a must do. So
big facts. I'm in. I told Trav this. Obviously, I'm an indie guy. I grew up here. Spent most of my life here, and I love Indianapolis more in terms of like place to live, place to raise a family. Like it's to be honest, in a lot of ways, it's like mini Chicago in terms of like, unfortunately, violence because we're like we do have a violent city. But anyways, we're more spread out.
yeah,
Our city center is not huge; it's easy to navigate through. But we're more spread out than Chicago is, and I love our suburbs and love just the different areas of Indianapolis. You ask anybody who lives in Indianapolis, there are so many different sections. You can have one section that's like, oh, great. You get another section like, yeah, that's where we're at. Like our neighborhood is like 5 minutes from the intersection, but it's like that all over the city.
right.
But anyways,
Huh.
Chicago city center, next to none, next to none. Like I, I kayaked down the Chicago River this past summer for our
That's awesome.
bachelor party, and the views are just ridiculous. Like it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world, like for real. So
Yeah, we were up on top of the 95th floor of the John Hancock or 96th floor of the John Hancock building, with that view, and it's just like it's overwhelming, really, the amount of industry and just people and steel beams and just how old it is. Like it's truly awesome. Like I just sit there looking out the window. I'm like, good lord, it was fantastic. Can't wait to get back, but we got to get back to OU football, baby.
oh,
Never
absolutely, and
sleeps. Never sleeps.
never sleeps. Even though the season over, we told y'all we still come with fresh content. Again, like we said, we'll hit some other sports too, but we are a football podcast mainly. Um, Let me go ahead and answer this question real quick from Jay. He says, "You lived most of your life in India. Did you?" I never lived in Oklahoma. My family is from there. My family's from Ardmore. Most of you guys know my story. My parents just moved up here. I have no family up here. Everybody's in Oklahoma and North Texas, and some in Fayetteville, but Arkansas. But I have no extended family up here. I was born up here and I loved it, so I came back. But everybody's from down there. Obviously, my sister runs OU, so that's why I'm so connected. I do know people down, obviously in Oklahoma, but I don't live there. Sometimes I wish I did, but I'm okay with where we're at now. Love Indianapolis. So, hey, let's get to some transfer portal talk. Um, the last couple of weeks we've had some big pickups in the transfer portal. Obviously, as we know, we picked up Deshaun McCullough, couple other guys here in the last couple of days. In one, Rondell is it Rondell or Rondell?
I
Both
think it's Rondell, both Royd.
Rondell Borthroyd from Wake Forest, as well as Andrell Anthony. Is it Andrell Anthony? Is that the last name?
Yep.
From the University of Michigan from the wide receiver room. Not to mention, obviously, Trace Ford, not to mention Jacob Lacey, all guys that we picked up on the defensive line, and still more to come. If I'm not mistaken, Trav, is that everybody that we picked up that's far? Am I missing one or two?
So we got four along the defensive line. You mentioned we got Reggie Pearson coming
Reggie
along the
Pearson. Yep.
safety room. Deshaun McCullough, obviously. Austin Stogner
Yep.
was
Big
another.
Sal.
And then Schaefer from Miami of Ohio, offensive lineman.
Okay. Yes, I forgot about Schaefer from Miami of Ohio. That's the one offensive lineman. Yeah, I know we were looking to get Rouse, but he went to Nebraska. So that was a tough one. But you gotta love what the Sooners are doing in the transfer portal. They said they're going to be aggressive. I think they've been aggressive. I think we've gotten better at a lot of different positions. I think there's still, obviously the potential for more with here a couple days left, not a week or so, until the portal closes. So, Trav, just talk to us a little bit about how you feel the staff has done with the transfer portal and anything you're hearing in terms of like, are they going to continue to be super aggressive? Are they going to, dial it back down a little bit as we end the end of the transfer portal window?
Yeah, from my understanding, there's only two spots left that they want to fill from the transfer portal. And another offensive lineman and another wide receiver. Now, that's not to say that if a leave the light on type prospect wants to come, like I don't know, defender from Clemson that has a relationship with BV, if someone says, "Hey, I want to come," then they'll figure out a way to make room. But wide receiver and offensive line, obviously, we wanted one offensive lineman that went to Wisconsin. That was an NIL thing that we lost. They're not necessarily wanting to spend. They're not wanting to spend that much on a transfer offensive lineman, unfortunately. But maybe they're just being wise. But so another offensive lineman, and then, like I said, another wide receiver. The thing about wide receiver is interesting. We were leading, and theoretically, we still lead for Broden, the 6'7" wide receiver from Bowling Green.
Yeah.
He was going to announce his decision today. OU has backed off him a bit. Keep in mind, this is a 6'7", decent size wide receiver. Not a ton of production, but 6'7", 6'7", and we've been lacking with a bit of size. So there's some good news. OU is backed off of him, which must mean that OU has their eyes set somewhere else with somebody who's a higher priority than Broden. Broden would be a good addition, but I think they're going after somebody bigger and better. Maybe not literally bigger, because it's hard to get bigger than 6'7", but better. So, yeah, I think they've done a really good job. To be honest, it's tough to get transfers after you go 6 and 7. You notice TCU's getting all kinds of transfers. They were just in the national title game. Georgia doesn't need to get transfers because they've had a top 4 class for like a decade now.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's OU has been aggressive, which is good. But as far as, I know we're going to get into the hire, but maybe Emmett Jones, when he arrived, said, "Hey, look, don't take Broden. I got somebody else in mind." Maybe. That's just speculation. It is a possibility. So, with that, obviously, that was a massive hire. When you look at transfers, JP, you got to look at not whether they came from Texas State or whether they came from Miami of Ohio. What you need to look at is who else offered them. Look at the offer sheets. If you look at the offer sheets, you'll be able to tell if they're any good. So we beat out Devon Sears. We beat out Penn State and Tennessee for Devon Sears. He did take visits to those two. We beat him out. We beat out USC for Trace Ford. We beat out the entire country for Deshaun McCullough. Everybody wants that guy. He's one of the top-ranked players in the entire portal. An instant impact, freshman All-American, ready to go. So that's the thing. Like when you look at who we're going after and who their offers are, you can't look at where they're playing school. They have any reason to be there, right? There's somebody out there that is going to get, I don't know, pick any player from OU that never played but went into the portal. Somebody is going to get that player. and their fan base is going to say, "Oh man, this is incredible!" Like Bray Walker, they're going to say, "This is incredible. We got Bray Walker, 4 and 5 star from OU," and I hope Bray Walker does really well, but we haven't seen him on the field at all. If that same fan sees a player come from, a 4 star come from Indiana, they might think, "Oh, the player from OU's got to be way better. He's coming from OU." Well, that's not necessarily the case. One's a freshman All-American, one's never played. So that's what I would recommend to everybody that is looking at high school rankings or the schools that people come from, and just think, hey, it doesn't matter. The coaches want them now; they're going to get them now, so all good. But, anyways, my 2 cents. What are you thinking about it, JP?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Just especially in terms of who we've gotten, who we've beaten out for those guys, and I love what you said about just because they come from a smaller school doesn't mean anything. I mean, there's to take it that the route that I kind of normally do because it's my wheelhouse as an athletic director. What I always tell my student athletes is, you want to go somewhere at first that is the right fit for you because people are going to try to give you a runaround. They'll sell you a pipe dream, but you want to go somewhere where you can develop, and you can always get to that level later, right down the road when you actually develop. Because maybe right now that's not where you're at, and that's okay. And so for some of these guys, when they came out of high school, maybe they weren't at that level. But you know what? That's why you have development. It's actually possible. So you can be at a
Mm-hmm.
certain level at a high school and develop into a really really good player. That's why you see sometimes transfers that come in with in any sport, really, football, basketball, baseball, transfers that come in from smaller schools, and they're seniors, but they are dominating, and you're like, man, why didn't this kid get recruited out of? And it's like, well, he just wasn't there yet. He was a project similar to Josh Allen. At a college, nobody thought Josh Allen was going to be what he is now, but you gave him stability, allowed him to develop. Now he's one of the best quarterbacks in National Football League, and nobody.
Well, even like Carson Wentz, right?
Oh yeah,
Like Josh Allen still needed a bit of time to develop. Even in the NFL, he wasn't really himself.
yep,
But a guy like Carson Wentz, what do you think Carson Wentz would have been worth? To in the transfer portal, right? I mean, everybody would have been like, "Damn, get me that guy," and then you would have had fans that don't understand how that works and would have said, "Really, we're getting a guy from North Dakota State?" Like
yeah,
they'd be like, "This is terrible. What are we thinking? We should get somebody from somewhere bigger," and you would have been woefully upset.
yeah,
So don't look at where they're coming from. Don't look at their stars. If this staff is interested in them, and if other staffs are interested in them, that's all you need to know, baby. That's all you need to know.
there's absolutely something to look at in that way. Hey guys, make sure you hit the like button. Again, as always, want to make sure we're getting everybody in here as we can. I think, and this is something Trav and I'll probably talk about, but I believe we're going to try to move back to this our 9 p.m. slot. I think with the off season, OU Insider has kind of they're dropped back to doing a different thing just because they had to move it when Coach Venables is
But
doing
not
it.
your boys. But not
Coach,
your boys.
huh?
Wednesdays, baby. Not your
Wednesday.
boys. Wednesdays, baby.
You already know, and we had it locked up. We always been here. We've been consistent. Y'all know what it is. Wednesday nights we're gonna be here. So we're gonna move back to 9 p.m. Central Time for now, and continue to get you guys in here. But yeah, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Check us out. Make sure you share. Takes 2 seconds to hit the like button. Helps us out on the YouTube algorithm. All right. With that being said, Trav, I asked a question on Twitter. I don't know if you saw just a prerequisite question to our show tonight. I said, in preparation for tonight, who, in your opinion, was the biggest portal addition that the Sooners added? So we had a couple of responses here that I'll read off, and then I want to get your opinion, Trav, and everybody else in the comments. Go ahead and put your guys' opinion. Who was the biggest portal addition to you? And I'll go ahead and put it up on the screen. So I'll just read a couple of guys from here. At Matt DJ 2002 Matthew Jefferson. He says McCullough. A lot of other people agreed with him. Deshaun McCullough they felt like was the best one. Um, David Atkinson 77. says Reggie Pearson. He's a hard-hitting safety who can be a tone setter in the defensive backfield. So that was his opinion. And then last one I'll go with is actually a list. Our guy, Dusty Baker Mayfield, at Houston Sooners 77 says, in his opinion, Trace Ford, just no, I didn't mention him at the time. He has the most experience against OU. Second is Deshaun, third is Pearson, and the fourth is Devon Spears Jr. But I am excited to see what Anthony, Schaefer, and Lacey can contribute. So I feel like that's a good way to round that out. Trav, who, in your opinion, is the biggest addition for this staff in the portal?
All right, so I would normally take the layup here and go with Deshaun. He is a bona fide freshman All-American. He's everybody in the country wanted him. Every single person comes from a great pedigree. He brought a brother with him. So not only do you get him, you get a 4-star safety in tow because you get him. So that is the correct answer, I feel. But my answer is going to be Austin Stogner. We complain about the intermediate passing game so much, right? What Austin Stogner will do for Dylan Gabriel in the middle of the field cannot be understated. This offense will change dramatically with Austin Stogner, a healthy Austin Stogner. Keep in mind, Austin Stogner was not healthy at OU his first time around. He was super young, and then he had the leg issue. He developed sepsis. He lost like 30 pounds. Like, he was not himself. Like, could have lost his leg. So we get a healthy Austin Stogner back. The dude's got like Mickey Mouse size white gloves. He's fantastic. He's big. He's thick. He's going to be that red zone. You know, so many times, think back to Spencer Rattler. It was his favorite target in the red zone, right? Because he could just post somebody up and just body him, right? We all remember the Texas catch where he was just stronger than everybody. So I think Stogner coming back, being comfortable, you know, with the city. He talks about how much he loves OU. He said he felt like had a case of FOMO when he was watching OU this season. So I think he'll be great. I think on third down specifically. So my Vikings went out and got TJ Hawkinson in the middle of the season. That he in like the next game he converted like 6 third downs. Third downs is where your middle of the field tight end can really help, right? You got Drake Stoops that's going to be in the slot. You got Austin Stogner. I mean, that is exactly what the doctor ordered for Dylan Gabriel in the intermediate game. And yeah, so I'm big on Austin Stogner. Like I said, McCullough is I think the correct answer. He's the best player at a position of need, and he brings a 4-star safety with him. I mean, that's going to be hard to beat that, but it's kind of like what player is most important to the team's success? It's probably Dylan Gabriel. I think that's a pretty easy answer, right? So we have to try and get creative every once in a while and say, okay, when you exclude Dylan Gabriel, who's the most important, right? So, yeah, I'm going Austin Stogner, and he can block. And those young running backs that are going to get outside because of his blocks, going to be big time. Going to be big time.
I can't wait to see what the running game looks like next year. That's going to be super exciting.
Run game, and Teddy brought up a great point when we were on air last week together. Jackson Arnold makes the run game better, which sounds weird to say. But part of the reason, and you saw it with Matt Corral at Ole Miss, part of the reason Levy's offense was lethal at Ole Miss is because he used the quarterback run game so effectively. Well, you all saw what happened when we didn't have Dylan Gabriel, right? Well, if you haven't, go talk to a Texas fan on Twitter. They will remind you with 3 numbers and a dash because that's all they know how to tweet anymore. But 49-0 is what they hit us with Dylan Gabriel out. So with that, they kind of reined in a lot of the quarterback run game because Dylan's got some moves. If any of you remember, the first touchdown of the season was a Dylan Gabriel pulls it, keeps it. I talked to a couple offensive linemen after the game. They said we didn't even know Dylan had those moves. That was impressive. If he can do that all year, we're in good shape. The problem is he can't do that all year because you don't have anything behind him. With Jackson Arnold in town now, you can be a bit more aggressive, not reckless, but you can be a bit more aggressive in the quarterback run game, in the zone read game, and he can keep. There were so many times where he gave up the ball, and he's wide open right there. He can pick up a first down, but it's just that he's been told, look, you gotta hand the ball off more, man, because if you get hit, we may not score. So Jackson
Yeah.
Arnold will make the run game better.
And that's a great segue, Travis. Speaking of one Dylan Gabriel, obviously since the last time we had the JP and Travis show, Dylan Gabriel made his announcement that he's coming back to the University of Oklahoma. Obviously, he for whatever reason has been much maligned as a quarterback for the Sooners. Just last year, you had people were high on him, people were low on him, people were in the middle, all that different stuff for whatever reason, polarizing. On this show, I believe we're both Dylan Gabriel fans. We both recognize what he is. We're not saying that he's a Heisman guy, but we also have said he shouldn't have to be. He's good enough to get us where we need to go. There's a lot of quarterbacks that had if they had, I think, was it 28-6 or 24-6 that he had 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
I think it was 28-6. No, it
Yeah,
was 24, I believe.
but still, I mean, 20,
Regardless.
24, 24-6, right, is good. Like, just go look at some other college quarterbacks out there, some I said franchise, some other programs, and tell me that they wouldn't take a 24-6 season, especially with when it's your first year at a university. Yes, you kind of know the offense, but the terminology may have changed because he was at Ole Miss. You have all new people around you. I mean, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of circumstances. And so, with that being said, he's coming back for a second season, which I think is good for the Sooners, good for Jackson Arnold. Trav, what are your expectations for Dylan Gabriel in his second season with the Sooners? And people in the chat, go ahead and put your expectations in the chat too, and we'll put them up as we're talking.
I think he'll have a massive year, to be honest. I think he will be aided by a great run game. But keep in mind, all last year, there was early install with all new everything, right? You got to teach the coaches the new offense. Like coaches that just got there. Like they were still trying to hire, like they to run other offenses. You don't know up until a certain point whether Caleb's coming back or not. You got Dylan coming in late, this, that, and the other. Well, continuity is something that didn't exist in Norman last year, right? First time defensive play calling, first time offensive play calling, new head coach, new quarterback for the wide receivers. You got new offensive linemen in there. You got all this just incredibly new stuff. You get a little bit of continuity now. You get that chemistry with your wide receivers. You get that, like, Dylan tried his hardest at the dime time retreat, everything like that, to get on the same page, right? Well, this year, he's going to have even more time, right? And with Mims gone, it'll be interesting because, Andrew Anthony is a stud for sure. But I had a bunch of the OU football players in for a watch party for the national championship. They think LV Bunkley Shelton is going to start opposite Jaleel Farouk. They're like, he is the best route runner on the team. They're like, that dude will make you look silly. So they think LV Bunkley Shelton's got a good chance. So with that, there wasn't a lot of just rotation last year in the wide receivers, so we didn't get to see a lot of the other guys. So it'll be interesting to see what Emmett likes to do with his wide receivers and if that affects pace and all this, that, and the other. But Nick Anderson was another guy that they talked about. Gentry and J-Row are both very fast, very, very fast individuals. Track guys that came up through. Gentry grew up was going to do like national track. J-Row won the 100-meter. He was a state champion in the 100-meter in the state of Oklahoma. And even they talk about how fast Nick Anderson is, how powerful Nick Anderson is when he's blocking. He'll get in you. They say Gibson's tall, but Nick Anderson is a big receiver. Like he's physical, got the big body, everything like that. So I think the wide receiver room is going to be in really good shape. So I think Dylan's going to have a really good year. I think he's going to have a really good year because he can run the ball. Just, I mean, and think of what he did against Nebraska, on that big run that really turned the crowd noise off in Lincoln, which is hard to do. You think when he gets when he gets that zone read where he's allowed to keep it, I think he's in good shape. Now, we had something on the text line today. Somebody goes, if OU loses one of its first three games, then you've got to pull Dylan and start Jackson Arnold the rest of the season. I replied on the texter, I said, what if we lose 50-48? Are you still pulling Dylan Gabriel? He said, yep, it's a quarterback's job to lead the team to a victory.
What?
And I want everybody, if you believe that in the comments, I don't know how you got logged onto the internet correctly.
Drink bleach. Candy.
Because I don't think we're going to lose one of our first three games. Let me make that clear. We have three extremely winnable first three games. But at the same time, benching a quarterback that scores 48 points for a true freshman. Because what if the true freshman then scores 20 points in a loss and you get blown out? What do? Go back to the guy you just benched for scoring 48? How's that going to go? So his reply was, look, we need to be honest with ourselves, and Dylan Gabriel is a 3-star. We can't have the whole team just cater to his needs. Jackson Arnold's a 5-star and a future of the program. We need to go ahead and give him the reins. It's like, guys, bruh. Caleb lost to Tulane. He's a 5-star. Should Lincoln have benched him?
Thank you.
Like, if you watch a game, and I know we've been on this all year, if you watch a game and the offense scores 40-plus points and you blame that on the quarterback, you and I will not agree. It's just as simple as that. We will not agree. And that's fine. What makes this great is that we have opinions. You guys have opinions. We share opinions. We disagree. But if you think that we ought to bench Dylan Gabriel for Jackson Arnold if he has a 48-point loss, now tripping.
Yeah. If Dylan Gabriel has a Texas Tech game and y'all want to bench him, leave. Just walk out.
And the chats, they know what's up. It's if the defense is giving up, Mike Greenfeather says, if our defense is still giving up those kind of numbers, then we have problems. Absolutely. And that's the thing. I don't think we're losing any of those games. But this was just a hypothetical. To think that it's rearranging, deck chairs on the Titanic or anything, right? It's deciding that as the Titanic is sinking, you then have to put somebody else in charge of steering the boat. No, it's going down. Like, it is what it is. But I just hope we don't, to Boomer Gooner's point, I just hope we don't hear Jackson Arnold chanting or those chants coming. It helps nobody. It makes the fans look bad. It makes the coaches uncomfortable, puts them in a bad place. It puts DG in a bad place. It puts Jackson Arnold in a bad place. Like, golly, if there's anybody in the chat right now, who is at a game and somebody starts chanting for Jackson Arnold, please slap that person and tell them it came from me. Came from me. If you get your ass kicked, I'll send you some Band-Aids. But I promise you, we don't need that stuff. Yes, thank you, CVM. Punch them in their face.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Dylan's going to be – this is the best case scenario, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't get hurt, but if he does, you have Jackson Arnold as a backup. And I don't think Dylan Gabriel is going to have some crazy fall off, season, Lord willing. But regardless, we picked up a ton of transfers. that'll be good for both the offensive side of the ball, obviously the defensive side of the ball, which needed the most work. Because again, even though people want to harp on DG and even on Levy, we all said, hey, this season really by and large not an offense. The offense was as good as it probably could have been. I mean, granted, there were drops and different stuff like that. As good as it could have been, considering like everything we felt like we lost. Like if you would have told us that we had a top 25 offense, I think we probably would have been okay with that in the first year. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
With a brand new quarterback, everything like that. So regardless of that, it's going to be good to have DG back. Excited about that.
it's
Um,
best case scenario. Absolutely, you said it best. Best case scenario.
it is.
Bro,
So,
you. If you had one checklist going into next season, it's retain Dylan Gabriel.
yep. Period.
Got it.
That's where it starts. So, hey, I did wanna ask you if you've heard anything about the Big 12 schedule. Is it supposed to be released Friday?
So I spoke
Um,
with. So I went to lunch with a an OU official um, on last Wednesday. Went to lunch with an OU official that had said that he actually had on his phone what is rumored to be the league schedule from somebody in the Big 12,
yeah,
ranks.
yeah,
It's it's ugly, but we did get at BYU. That's just a leak thing. Like if from what I saw, it's at we get at BYU, which is all I really care about, to be honest. But yeah, it's it's not out yet. We had to add four more teams, as you all know. The four teams will be on this next schedule. That's why we're talking about BYU. Um, and your mark is just he just wants attention so badly, so badly.
yeah,
And that's good because he's marketing, right? You need the world's eyes on you. So my thought is that he was going to release the schedule on the Monday of the national championship. But TCU made the national championship. So the eyes were already on the Big 12. He should have released it at halftime. So maybe the eyes would go somewhere else in the Big 12 and not on TCU. But it's very much, it's like a lot of people do. OU has done this. You wait to release good news when you anticipate there will be bad news. That's why you release bad news on a late Friday, the Friday news dump. Release that on a Friday so none of the analysts and journalists and everybody that works Monday through Friday can talk about it,
yeah,
right? So your mark has the schedule done. It's what are we waiting for to release it? I don't know specifically, but I know that's what he's doing. Is we're going to wait to release this thing until we need all the eyes on us.
yeah.
So,
So two things. One. Let me just say, and there's been some rumors out there. If they play at Cincinnati, I'll probably be one of the happiest people here
I
because
will be one of the drunkest people because Cincinnati is right across the river from my favorite distillery, New Riff.
oh yeah,
So, y'all know where you can find me.
hey,
But
it's a 2 hour drive. I'm in there like swimwear. It's the easiest game on 10 all year. The closest game the last couple years has been West Virginia. So for to go from a 5.5 hour drive to literally 2 hours, maybe an hour 45, is amazing. If that happens, one, two. Question: How are we still doing top two? Are they making divisions? Is that been
um,
communicated? Because we got 14 teams, but are we still doing the top two teams in the conference championship game?
believe it'll still be top two because then they will.
Even though people don't play everybody?
Yeah, it's a very thrown together temporary because it's only going to be for 1 year.
Yeah, that's true.
So they would have to put OU and Texas in separate divisions, which they're not going to do,
Yeah,
to then even out the divisions for next year.
yeah,
So you can still do I mean, because a lot of conferences are getting rid of divisions.
yeah,
You can still take the top two teams and work out your tiebreakers as you will to still get the top two teams.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard anything on it. I mean, I assume that's probably what they would still do, especially since, like you said, it's just going to be the 1 year. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who we're playing, where we're playing, who we get
I
out.
would love, I would love at BYU and at Cincinnati. That's what I need.
Uh,
And
we'll
anybody
see.
who would go to BYU, please don't book skiing the day before because that's what I'm gonna do.
You gonna ski? You gonna be in the mountains? He gonna be in them slopes.
That
Hey,
Friday, yeah.
low key. If you want to stay like in Cincinnati, that's cool. But if you wanna come up here and hop with me, it's only 2 hours. I'm telling you, we can ride.
It will largely depend on what I can do with the New Riff Distillery. Because let me tell you, that is some bourbon. I was talking to my boy Jake, Jake McDaniel.
Yeah,
Um, when we started talking about Cincinnati today, he's like, bro, New Riff's right across the river. Like, it's basically in Cincinnati. I'm
yeah,
like, oh, here we go. So
yeah.
we'll see. Maybe you come down and stay there, and then we all taste some bourbon.
I'm not opposed. I just got to make sure we look at the schedule because
Yeah.
fall freaking you know
Oh, I know.
my
All those
those
apples
apple
growing on those
those apple
trees,
orchards. Yep.
those apple orchards. You got to make sure. Yeah,
Oh
Topher knows what's up, man. As long as it isn't Houston.
yeah.
I mean, I love my Houston people, no doubt. Love my Houston people. I enjoy some time in Houston. Went to a battle rap event there that I enjoyed greatly. Um, but what's
I'm
so
just
funny
trying
about
to
it?
imagine you at a battle rap. I'm sorry.
Look up look up Gnome Nine. I'm on stage.
I'm
Like I'm on
that is
stage with
amazing.
Brandon Holland. He covers UTSA recruiting
Oh,
and Texas. He was an intern for Texas,
yeah,
and so I was like, man, I really like battle rap. Like it's like the purest form of like lyricism. That's not just straight poetry. So I'm like, yeah, I really like it, and I connected on Twitter with one of the Texas recruiting guys that was interning for 247, and I was like, dude, we got to go to Nome, which is basically like it stands for Night of Main Event,
yeah,
and it was awesome. It was incredible. It was like 9 battles. It was in this venue in downtown Houston. I was on stage. It's a lot more affordable than like front row sports tickets
yeah,
or concert tickets to get in. So it was great. It was great. I was the only, the lines wrapped around the whole building, right? And so they got in trouble the last time because it's in the summer. Got in trouble last time because they weren't giving, like, they hadn't given food to people.
mhm,
Like, and it was really hard to get food in the venue, so like people were getting sick. So this year they were like, we're going to get some of our food vendors to come out and hand out like, to go or just like fast food stuff. So they had Popeyes walk around, and if you can guess, JP,
mhm.
at a battle rap event, I was in the minority of race.
Not surprising.
So they're walking through with boxes of chicken with sauce and all this other stuff, and they skip me. They go right past, hand it to the guy behind me. I'm like,
Yo,
bro, I eat chicken too. Like, I mean, I don't know what's going on here. So we get in the venue, and DJ's on stage and all that's whatnot, and we're setting up, and they're about to start. And there's somebody with the league with URL and Nunu. for anybody who watches battle rap. But I was like, man, they didn't give me any chicken, and she was like, what? I'm gonna get to the bottom of this, and then so she got a couple boxes of chicken, and we started eating chicken on stage. But yeah, I'll send you the video, or um, I'll send you some battles to watch, and then I'll show you where I'm at. So
That is amazing. Like
yeah, so yep. So
absolutely amazing.
yeah, hey, I do what I like.
Yeah, that is you do. I wouldn't it surprises me in some ways, but it doesn't surprise me because I feel like I could find you anywhere. I could be somewhere in like I don't know, Indonesia and there's Trav in a local village
The
or
Indonesian
something
food,
like
yeah, absolutely.
that.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah, I did get the Key and Peele Obama treatment. I'll tell you what though, Jane or let's see who got reverse profile, Jay and DGD and all them. So that wasn't nearly as bad as I got profiled the next day when I went to eat soul food at This Is It in downtown Houston. Oh, that was.
What?
I think I was the only white guy to walk into the soul food place in probably all year.
Bruh.
It's awesome though. It was so good, such a good place. I go up, I ordered
I'm sure you
oxtails,
probably
yams,
almost fell asleep
greens.
on the table too.
So what?
I said I'm sure you almost fell asleep on the table too.
Man, it was like
That food be hitting you.
oxtails, yams, greens, extra gravy on everything. Like I was in line
Mm,
and somebody in front of me, like they were keeping it, like they were social distancing before we were supposed to social distance.
yeah.
They didn't want anybody to think that they're the ones that brought my white ass in there.
Right.
So they're on each side of me, and I'm trying to make conversation, man. I'm a friendly guy, and I'm like, "Hey, what's good here?" And they're like, looked over the shoulder. They're like, "No, it's all good." Can't even engage in conversation with me, man.
Gonna tell you.
So eventually, I got my tray, and they loaded me up. Once I ordered the oxtails and the yams and the greens and all that, they were like, "Okay, this isn't our standard white guy." So,
Yeah.
anyways, ended up like next time I'm in Houston, I'm definitely going to go back. They probably haven't had a white guy in there since. They're probably, oh, he's back.
What is it called again?
I think it's called This Is It.
This is.
Houston.
I have a good buddy of mine that lives in Houston. I'm gonna ask him. I'm telling him. Hey,
I tell you what, man, the food was incredible.
it's not.
It's incredible. I can't wait to go back. But
It's not. It's not surprising at all. I mean, soul food places, man. There's a place up here called Mississippi Belle. The
yeah,
lady moved here from Mississippi and started her own chain or like her own restaurant, and
yeah,
man, we go there. Rub ribs, man. I mean, it's unbelievable. But again, if y'all ain't ever had soul food in the chat, like you need to bring like a pillow and a blanket after you eat because you be moving slow. You feel like somebody tried to knock you out.
I drove back to Tulsa afterwards.
You said what?
I drove back to Tulsa afterwards.
Oh man, I'm glad that you made it because that's crazy.
Sir, are you? Yeah, This Is It. Soul food. And it was like, um, officer. If I was driving back, but if I'd have got pulled over, I'd have been like, breathalyze me. I swear I'm not drunk. It's food. I promise you.
I just had some yams. Yeah. So, all
Hey,
right.
shout out the women's basketball beat Texas Tech on the road tonight by 10. That was big time. So
I love that. Love that. The women's basketball team, man, they're making a comeback for just being good again. I remember when I was
well,
young.
Anna's back. Anna's back, and she's back from her injury, and
Okay.
the
Okay.
team is way different with her,
Way
man.
different for
She's
her. Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. Now I remember the Paris sisters?
Yeah, Paris twins. Yeah, Courtney and Ashley Paris.
Man, they were dirty.
They were.
They were killer.
Those were some. Yeah,
Man,
some straight animals, man. They were impressive.
dogs.
Yeah, those were the good old days of under Sherry Cole
Oh
with
yeah.
the Paris twins. But this is a good team. They got shooters. They got size. Anna being back, they're super versatile. Defend all over the place. No, it's a real good team.
Yeah.
I've seen them live twice now this year. They're really good.
As Travis always says, make sure y'all get to Lloyd Noble for both teams.
Yeah, get
So
there.
go out, go watch the games.
It matters. If any of y'all saw that KU game, you saw how influential their fans are. That is important.
Yep.
That is important.
It's not that hard to fill, y'all. Y'all feel Gaylord Memorial every
I'll
week.
be at the tennis matches Saturday morning if y'all want to come through for that too. Spring season's opening for the number 4 team in the country,
Hey,
OU women's tennis.
hey, I need them to get a natty this year.
And I'll tell you what, if you guys, so a lot of people say they like softball instead of baseball, just watching wise, because there's a lot of action. I'll tell you what, nothing is more action packed than women's tennis. Well, I mean, tennis in general. But when you go to, like, I went to the women's tennis match against Stanford last year in the Sweet 16, and you have 6 courts all simultaneously playing, everything going back and forth. I mean, it is action packed. So, highly recommend attending the women's tennis match this coming Saturday morning. So, I will be there for sure.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, let's get to our patented game, this or that. It's been a little bit since we played. So let's go ahead and get to that. As always, it's a couple prompts where we decide between two things, and we got to give kind of a dissertation on why we choose that thing. We had a gun to our head. Why are you gonna go that way? So everybody in the chat, make sure that you guys play along as well. Put your answers up on screen. After that, we'll do a little Q&A time, and then we'll get on out of here. All right, first one. We had two quarterbacks that at one point were a part of Lincoln Riley's teams at OU who have gone on to do some good things at other schools. My question for you, actually, I think we might have already done this. I don't know if we did, but let's just ask it anyway. My question for you is: out of these two, if you had to choose, who would you rather have as your starting quarterback? Obviously not at OU because we got DG, but I'm just saying, if you were at another school, you're a coach, you're looking at these two guys, which one would you go after and why?
Oh, man. Tanner's got the better arm, but man, Chandler can Chandler can run. Chandler's a little bit smaller, and I see the chat going zigging, so I'm gonna zag. I'm going with Chandler Morris. Only one of these quarterbacks beat out a Heisman finalist this year in fall camp.
That's true.
That was Chandler Morris. Chandler Morris beat out Max Duggan in fall camp. And then he got injured. Max Duggan ends up taking over, and he leads them to the national championship. That leads me to believe that Chandler could have done the same. He's a little bit smaller, but man, he's fast. He's a playmaker, big time. So while Tanner can put up some gaudy stats at SMU, we'll see if he gets the starting nod at Wisconsin. But I don't know. I like I said, I see them zigging. I'm gonna zag and go with Chandler Morris, the only man that beat out a Heisman finalist this year in fall camp. What about you?
I like that answer. Yes, it's tough, man. I mean, Tanner's put up so many good games numbers. Obviously, you can say SMU plays in a little bit lesser conference, but just some of the numbers Tanner's put up. I think he had 7 touchdowns in a game
Yeah,
last year or a couple years ago. I mean, just throwing the ball all over the yard. But I do like me a good dual threat, and I think Chandler Morris, long term wise, we saw his potential early at OU, and then obviously we saw it at TCU. And as you stated, he did beat out a Heisman finalist, and a Heisman finalist that granted against a great Georgia team, and we didn't even touch on that. We don't need to. I mean,
jeez,
60%
now let that body let
his
that body
success. Yeah,
let that body go through the rigor mortis stages before we got to talk about it.
yeah. I mean, it's rough, but he kind of reverted back to the Max Duggan we all kind of knew and loved um, in the national championship game. That's the Max Duggan we saw for 3 years, and then
Right.
he got possessed for the season apparently and was amazing. even through the Michigan game. And obviously, I think you can say the one game was probably more of a fluke. Probably just didn't play well. But Max Duggan clearly was playing a high level, and Chandler Morris still beat him out. So we'll see what Chandler Morris ends up doing at TCU. But Chandler Morris is younger too, so I'd probably rather have him long term. Travis Kellerman, I'm dead. So that makes me JP Smith then.
Funny. Brandon said, "Whatever it is, I disagree with Trav," and he was like one of the only people to agree.
Oh, that's
Christy, we got a couple people agreeing. Factors featured. Christy, what up?
yeah. There's a couple people that said Morris. Yeah, we will see next year. That's for sure. All right, next one. Speaking of, we was talking about cities earlier.
Ooh,
Chicago being one of them because Trav was there this past weekend.
I'll be in
So for
Vegas
this
next
one,
week, so
you said what?
I'll be in Vegas on Monday
Ooh.
through. I'll be live from Vegas Wednesday night for the next pod. So
Okay, so this is a kind of a basic city question. I mean, these are probably, I think, the two largest cities in America. But I want to know which one you would rather live in: New York City or Los Angeles. Which one would you rather live in?
live in. Oh
Live,
man,
not visit, because people visit there all the time. But if you had to like live, you had to get up, go to your 9 to 5 in these cities. Which one would you choose? He's still mad about the biscuits and gravy from a couple of weeks ago.
it's fine. Everybody's got a right to their own opinion. His is just wrong. Um, so man, this is tough because I don't think I'd really choose either of them, but
Mhm.
I think I got to go with New York, man. I think New York. I like the something I like about even Chicago. Like I like New York because like the history, right? I
Yeah.
like the history and the the culture and like hip hop was born there, so
Mhm.
that's a lot of fun. Um, you can get around really easily. I feel like LA, since it's a little more spread out, you've got traffic issues, you got this, that, and the other. I mean, like uh, politically, I probably would not enjoy either. But I think New York has got better food because I love sushi totally. But I'm a steak guy. When I think of best steakhouses in the country, I always think New York's probably got to be up there. Um, I think, yeah, I think I'm going New York, and again, it's not. I don't think I'd prefer either of them, but I think the hustle and bustle in New York, the just the major city living, the iconic nature of New York. I feel like people are a little more themselves in New York. I feel like they're unabashedly themselves. They take pride in being themselves, whereas I feel like a lot of people in LA are trying to be somebody they're not to fit in with people they don't even like. So that's why I'm going with New York.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna go to New York too. I've been to LA. I've never been to New York, but I am notoriously I would rather be cold than hot. I'm not saying I like winter, but I would rather have the sensation of being cold. Me and Trav dressed up in our Nike Techs out here, styling on them out there. Okay, walking down the street in some Tims and getting a slice of New York style pizza, going to Broadway, what have you. Um, I if I was a beach guy, I'd probably choose LA, but I'm not a big fan of the beach, to be
Yeah, I don't
honest.
like sand.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not a
I
big
don't like
sand person.
sand.
So I would probably have to choose New York for that reason. Again, enjoyed LA for sure. But I think that New York's just a little grittier. I'm a Midwest dude, born and raised. So LA people kind of can be soft, and we got one soft. one out there, specifically won't speak his name, because you know how y'all get when we bring that person's name
Well,
up.
well,
But
James feeling some type of way in the chat, saying cold weather just means good for snuggling.
hey, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
I know. I'm just saying. I like it. I like it. It's another good point as why
It's
New
cuffing
York's better.
season. People looking for big boys, according to SZA. So I can't believe
Yeah,
he
I
got
think.
that wrong.
Well, like I said, I think the people in New York are more genuine. I can deal with consistency. If
Yeah.
you tell me who you are and I can believe you, I know how to deal with you. Yeah, I don't. So if if you're, like I said, unabashedly yourself, I know how to deal with you. If I don't know whether you're going to be you or the person you're pretending to be, I don't know how to deal with you. So New York, me and Fitty.
New York, New York. Okay. So, with that being said, it's a good segue to, I try to keep these things connected a little bit. Travis just in one of the most historic cities in America, Chicago. New York is a historic city. They are both pretty much food wise known for their pizza styles. So, deep dish or New York style. Did you have deep dish when you were up there? Did you? Did
Of
you?
course I did. What you
Where'd you go?
what you think this is? Pequods. Where the
Pequot.
locals go. It's where the locals go. So what's great about going where the locals go is you get local prices. You don't get tourist prices.
Big
Because
facts.
I was paying some tourist prices at Gibson's, um, Maple and Ash, Michael Jordan Steakhouse, all just everything up and down, man. I was, whew. But you got to go first on this one. I'm curious to see your answer.
I am a big proponent of New York style pizza. I like thin crust. I do. Like to being able to fold it. Sometimes I don't always fold it, but but I just like to feel like I can eat more like that. um, I like deep dish though. Don't get me wrong. Being able to now this is the touristy one, but I'll never forget having Giordano's for the first time in Chicago, and then they made it a chain, and they have a couple down here in Indianapolis now. But like Trav said, you want real deep dish pizza, go to the local place in Chicago, like Pequod's, like you said, or a couple other places. Luminati's is another one that is kind of touristy, still good though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would go New York style. I don't know. I'm a thin crust proponent. Always have been. Don't mind the thick crust and all the cheese and pizza sauce on top is good, but man, I just feel like nothing could beat a thin sliced pizza.
Yeah, Pequod's, that was some of the best pizza I've ever had. No matter the style, it was great. They do like the caramelized cheese on the crust when it's in the pan. Really, really good stuff. Nice, thick, just everything you need. But I think if I'm going what I have to eat, like if I have to eat one the rest of my life, it's New York, and it's really not even particularly close.
Mm,
So I too like to fold the pizza, throw a little parm in there, a little hot sauce, red pepper, whatever you need, fold, and yes, you can eat mini slices. With deep dish, like you eat one, and you're like, okay, this is so dense that I'm full. Like so, deep dish is going to lend itself to more people that eat like lasagna because it's basically a casserole.
yeah.
But if you're in Chicago, you got to eat the deep dish. Go to Pequod's. Don't tell them I sent you because I didn't give them my name, so it won't matter.
Yeah.
So that's where I did see the Packers lose to the Lions, which means no playoffs for the Cheeseheads. Oh, how embarrassing. Imagine not being in the playoffs. Imagine. Well, I guess you don't have to. But like, others, imagine. But yeah, I think, like I said, if I got to eat one the rest of my life, I'm going New York.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the top end of the top end of like the best I've tasted is probably deep dish because there's just more there, right?
Yeah, yeah,
There's just
yeah.
more there. So
That's fair. It's a good. It's a good trade off. I mean, there's definitely more flavor because, like you said, there's more there. But
there's just more
yeah,
there.
man, I'm a big proponent of, like I said, just being able to bang, bang, bang. Like Topher said, they Chicago is also known for their Italian beef. One Porter Moser, uh, talked to Toby about, hey, I know you want to get a Philly cheesesteak, but you need to try a Portillo's Italian beef sandwich. Which have you had
I went
Portillo's?
so I went to Portillo's, got the Chicago dog. But I'll tell you what, the best Italian beef thing I had was at Michael Jordan's Steakhouse. They have Italian beef spring rolls that they like fried and they cut in half, and it was like it was incredible. It was
Wow.
Italian beef. They had the jardinera. They had like a great like almost like a au jus, like jardinera au jus dipping sauce,
Yeah.
and one of the best appetizers I've ever had. We had that, and then we had some smoked honey bacon honey bacon bourbon chicken wings. Both of these are at Michael Jordan Steakhouse. Forget about it. I mean, yeah, it was so good.
That
So
sounds
those
crazy.
appetizers were crazy. But yeah, the Italian beef, and even when I was at Pequod's, you just pick the size of your pizza, and then you just pick your toppings. So we did jalapenos, banana peppers, pepperoni, and Italian beef. Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah, the Italians got Chicago like on lock because I had Portillo's for the first. This is a crazy story, and then we'll get to just a couple questions and we'll get out of here. Um, the first time I ever had Portillo's, it was in college. We had just gotten done playing at a school in Chicago for basketball, and so we were going out. It was 2016. We were going to Portillo's just after hit it and then go home. That was when the Cubs won the World Series. So I had, if I felt like an authentic Chicagoan because I had an Italian beef sandwich in my hand. I dipped it in the au jus as I don't know if it was Chris Bryant who made the last out or threw the last out, but whoever it was that threw the last out. We're all like going crazy just because it's historic. And I have one of my better friends was a big time Cubs fan. So, but yeah, they have one down here in Indiana. Portillo's pretty good, man. But yeah,
That well, I mean, I popped in. I took the recommendations on Twitter. If you were one of the people that tweeted at me to go any specific place, I appreciate it. Went down to Billy Goats. Billy Goats down on Michigan Ave. It's under, so like way under, and then you walk down into it. It's where they did the Saturday Night Live sketch, the cheeseburger, 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 like way back in the day. Um, like so, that's where they shot it. It's called Billy Goat because a goat like way back in the 30s fell off of a truck like of full of goats and like wandered into the bar all like dazed, and the owner kept it as a pet as like the mascot for the bar, and literally this bar has been open since like the 30s in Chicago, and it was where a lot of the sports writers would go and write their stories and hang out, and they just do beer and cheeseburgers and hot dogs and whatnot. But Billy Goat awesome
mm,
was awesome. I mean, they had all these old pictures and of presidents being in there, and like other like world leaders and celebrities and all these people just stopping in for a burger and a drink or a burger and some fries and a beer or whatever. I mean, very, very cool stuff.
wow.
Did I get the Coke shakes? No, I don't participate in drugs.
The cake shake,
Oh, the cake shake. No, I'm not familiar.
bro. You should have got at Portillo's, bro. You should have got it. It's a chocolate cake shake.
I'm not a sweets guy.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. It's
And
heat.
and, and we had eaten so much.
Yeah,
God, we had eaten so much.
it's
So
it's heat. I'm not gonna lie to you, but if you were a sweets guy, that's the one. But hey, let's get a couple questions in real quick, maybe two or three, and then we'll get out of here. That was a good one. That was a good first one. Yeah, Toph, cake shakes are unbelievable. They are. Any questions, y'all? Sure, we'll get a couple that'll pop up here in just a few seconds as it refreshes. Oh,
Probably confused everybody with food talk. Now they're like, oh crap, I forgot this is a football pod.
I know. They're like, man, what are we talking about again?
This is a pod about everything, baby.
That's what we do. We always gotta talk about food. Y'all know that. All right, here we go. Baker's future. I mean, it's up in the air, right? I think he did enough to at least garner attention. I'm not gonna say he did enough to for sure get another starting position, but I think with the two good games he had, one coming off of 2 days, not even knowing anything, getting a win, and then the other one going like 24, 28, 230 plus yards, two touchdowns. Against a very good defense,
Very good defense.
not a slouch.
On on Christmas, like so, it was a
Yeah.
nationally televised game. All eyes on him, all the attention, and got it done. So
And I think people know he doesn't have. He didn't like. There wasn't much there. The offensive line was not good. They were hurt. The receivers are for the most part all hurt, besides Van Jefferson, and he's a three. You know he's
right.
not a one or two, right? Cooper and Robert Woods are hurt. So what are you gonna do?
I think so much of his future depends on what Sean McVay wants to do.
Yeah,
If Sean McVay doesn't go to TV and wants to continue coaching, I think it is in Baker's best interest to stay with the Rams somehow in a backup role, backing up Matt Stafford, because Matt Stafford is not going to stay healthy. You don't come off like spinal surgery at that age and
yeah,
just like you're good to go. Like so, I think some continuity would be helpful. Being with Sean McVay would be helpful. I don't think going to a place that is has a new coach or is poorly run or something like that. Like he's been through that part of his career.
yeah,
Like he needs some continuity. I keep on bringing up continuity with OU. It's same with Baker. Like he's had 7 head coaches. Like he just needs to go into work and know what to expect. So I would like for him to stay with the Rams in a backup role, but I do think that gives him an opportunity to take over for Stafford after Stafford retires, whenever he does.
yeah. I agree. I agree.
Because the Rams aren't going to be able to afford much of a quarterback because they spent all their money and they spent all their draft picks. For a Super Bowl, it worked, but now they'll probably be not that great. So if Sean McVay sticks around, I think LA is the move.
Where does Kale Gundy end up?
Whew. I I honestly don't think that it's Oklahoma State. I truly don't think that. I texted Kale after those rumors started, and he shot him down with me. Um, Said those people didn't know what they were talking about. So I I wouldn't be shocked to see almost like a player per. Here's the thing: a lot of the OG coaches, a lot of the long time people in this sport are talking pretty seriously about going to the NFL
Yeah,
because they think it's the same thing now. The transfer portal, NIL, all this, they're like, it's just too much of a headache now. Like their job used to be just get a guy signed and then go try and sign the next class, right? So it's like, and obviously coach him and whatnot, but it was always just go sign the next class. It was never, okay, sign this class and then figure out you got to recruit your own players so much that to hope that they don't leave. And then if they do leave, then and even if they don't, you got to go look in the transfer portal, make sure that you take care of that, all while dealing with, okay, who's here for NIL, who's not here for NIL, and then now we've got to focus on the next class in 2024. So it's like their jobs just got so much more difficult. And they're like, look, why not just go to the NFL and do all this, but deal with adults?
yeah,
So I think if he does resurface in football, which I feel like he will, I feel like at this point he could go NFL in a role like a player personnel role,
yeah.
simply because he has so many good ties in the NFL
So
based on
many.
who all he's put there. Um, in the NFL, you don't have to walk into teenagers' rooms and ask why you said this or that or whatever, like walk into their living rooms and tell their parents that. I do think that he could end up in a player personnel role at maybe a place like Houston. Houston, I know that they're taking this move to the Big 12 very seriously financially,
Yeah.
and there are maybe some big money people that really like Kale and would like him to be in charge of their player personnel with a really big NIL budget. So I would say my final answers would be NFL or Houston.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if you went to the NFL. But I know that I did see something about Houston rumors too a couple months ago. I think besides Oklahoma State, that's the only other piece I saw. All right, well, a couple more. Does Gavin take running back one from Javante Barnes?
I don't really think so, simply because I think Barnes is a better blocker. I think he's better at picking up blitzes than Gavin is. That's not necessarily something that won't change or couldn't change, but I think I think Barnes, with the experience he's got so far, will still do RB1, but I don't think it's a clear cut RB1, RB2. I think it's situational. I think there's going to be some games where Sawchuck's the hot hand and he just has more carries. I
Yeah,
don't. I don't think it's a situation. You might see it on the depth chart where both of them are RB1. Who knows? But I I do think I do think they're your clear cut one and two. But I love them both. I'd be happy with either of them at QB1.
they're yeah. I mean, it legitimately could be a P. Ryan Mixon situation. We'll see. Hopefully, they both stay
Right.
healthy, but
Right.
both very good. All right, last one, Trav, and then we'll get out of here. Do we know Sexton's injury going to be tough to get back in time for the season? Was it an ACL?
He he texted me where we were texting a couple days ago on the day he was getting his scans done and everything like that. He told me he expects to be back for 2023. He expects to play he expects to be back by the start of 2023 and
Okay,
playing.
that's good.
I'll run through a couple more just real quick that I see.
Yep.
Any thoughts on the directions of OU men's basketball team? Feels like OU is just missing a piece that can tour consistently with Sherfield. The Big 12 is extremely good, and it's
Oh,
really hard to recruit to a place where their fans don't show up to the basketball games. So unless we want to wait on another Trey Young to live in Norman and be a top 5 pick that just is a shoe in to be on the team, or a Blake Griffin who lives in Edmond whose brother's on the team, unless we want to continue to rely on just those people. I mean, obviously, Buddy's team, was an outlier to this point, but unless we want to rely on that, then people got to go get their butts in seats. They got to stop complaining about things, get their butts in seats, make a difference, make it to where all these recruits that are visiting think that they're going to play in front of people that actually care to watch them, and then we'll continue to get those missing pieces. Because right now, why would a top recruit go to OU and not be supported by a fan base when they can go somewhere where people are going to support them?
yep.
Um, Xavier Worthy smoke. Yeah, I don't expect anything to happen there. Um, Emeka Megwa, it was recommended that he might medically retire after how bad his injury was.
Yes.
So we need to see if he's all the way back from injury. If he is, I think he's more of a goal line back because he's built like a big linebacker. Um, yeah, like Jimmy says, when they start winning, people will show up. Well, that's the problem. Is it's a chicken and egg type situation,
Yep.
and it's also every single OU basketball fan that says that they're a fair weather fan. Like they're not an OU basketball fan; they're a fair weather fan. What have you done for me lately? So it's people don't show up, and then we can't bring in recruits because they're playing in front of nobody. And then the fans go, well, why can't Porter recruit? Why aren't we better? We'll go when you get better players, and we'll go when you start winning. Well, I mean, they had better support at Loyola. I mean, it's if no top end recruits, which is what makes you better, no top end recruits want to go play in front of fans that do not care about them. And OU fans as a whole, as evidenced by the worst Big 12 home court advantage or the
By
most
far.
non-existent home court advantage,
By far.
OU fans don't. They like a front runner. So it's like if all OU basketball fans just admit they're fair weather fans, then cool. But then you can't complain if the team's not good. So I know I live 2 hours away and I make it to the games, but it is what it is. I know it's expensive. I know the Thunder being here has actually legitimately affected attendance, but it is what it is. Other people seem to figure it out. Iowa State figures out how to get people in there to watch the basketball games.
Jimmy not listening to you, apparently. Because didn't you just say that it's hard to get top end recruits?
Yeah,
When
you can't get top end recruits. What top end recruits going to walk in
front of 10 fans?
Yeah. What kind of top end recruit's going to walk in and want to play in a library? Because that's what it sounds like he's playing in. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
well, and let me challenge that. I live in Indiana. Indiana is all about basketball.
Right.
From the moment you're born, from the moment I was born, I had basketball in my hand. Okay, IU has been crappy for years. Every single game I've ever gone to at Assembly Hall is packed. It's packed. It doesn't matter how bad the team is because the fans care about the game. Period.
Right.
Yeah, they're going to complain, but they show up, right? And I mean, granted, Indiana basketball in Indiana, football is Oklahoma, but even still, right?
Right. Exactly. And I get that Oklahoma's a football town Norman's a football town. Oklahoma's a football state.
Yeah.
But it is highly embarrassing the lack of support that OU basketball gets. And it's highly embarrassing to say, we'll just get better and we'll come, but then not understand how you get better. You hear OU football recruits say it all the time. Hey, man, OU, man, I had a great time. The crowd was crazy. Like, the atmosphere was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, the people that came for Bedlam, our biggest recruiting environment, or biggest recruiting weekend of the season, man, the crowd was lit, man. The atmosphere was so cool. Like, you don't think that their 17-year-old buddies that are trying to decide what basketball program to go to walk in and there's nobody there. It's like, y'all don't care about your basketball program. Why should I? I'll go play at Kansas. I'll go play at Duke. I'll go play at Kentucky. I'll go play at Arkansas. I'll go play at Indiana. I'll go play at Alabama. I'll go play at any of these places that have way better basketball cultures than we do. Arkansas, they show out every game. It was the same as, baseball. There were 500 fans of OU in the College World Series, and it's closer than Mississippi is. Mississippi ends up getting out there. Yeah, Arkansas has 5 stars. A lot of it is because they go to their games and it's an absolute madhouse.
It's the same thing, bro. Like,
it's an absolute madhouse.
Fans go to their games. They go to the games. And they just did.
Yeah, it's packed. Yeah, so baseball is the same way. Basketball is the same way. And all these things, if OU fans were half as committed in person as they are on Twitter, then all recruiting would be up in baseball and in basketball and in football. I promise you. But, it's just easy. And I get it. It's expensive. Travel's expensive. COVID hit a lot of people hard. But I refuse to believe that OU fans are the only people that got hit hard by COVID. The people who live in Mississippi are all independently wealthy and they can somehow get to the College World Series in Omaha by the thousands
Mississippi is
to
the
support
poorest
their
state in
team.
America. It's the poorest state in America.
Yeah.
Like that.
So I know this went off the rails on a rant that none of y'all needed. I know none of y'all needed this rant. I apologize, but it gets frustrating to go to game after game after game, and then just we lose, and everybody's like, "Porter's got to go. He can't bring in any talent."
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But we'll see, man. We'll see where it ends up. Porter's a good coach. He is. So hopefully he
yeah,
gets the support that he needs. He tried. I mean, he tried his first year. I mean, he's trying to do everything he could to get them fans in the stands, man. So we'll uh we'll see where it goes from here. But Trav, you got
yep.
anything to say to people before we leave?
No, no, I'm good. I'm good. Appreciate y'all tuning in.
Oh, yeah, man. We appreciate y'all. Like I said, we're gonna definitely have guests on the show continually as we go throughout the off season. Again, we'll talk some softball here soon as the season
For
kind of
sure.
rolls around. Everything.
Mhm.
We'll try to keep in touch with the basketball teams and different stuff like that, gymnastics, all that. We're OU channel, right? So we'll talk about that. But we are the meat of this channel is football. So we'll obviously always keep you guys updated on the transfer portal. When the schedule comes out, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about who needs to have a bigger spring, all that stuff we'll get through. So hey, y'all have a great rest of your week. We will see you next Wednesday. Love y'all. Boomer.
Boomer.